We ready? Yeah, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to AMA. My name is Dr. Ajumo, and I have with me Tola. That's the lead, GDG Ibadan lead. Then we promise you to bring on the program Yemi. Yemi is a software engineer and from Germany. So we're bringing him on the show to talk about the experience and just to know to tell you about what AMA is about and actually just ask me anything. It's a show that we're just trying to to help software developers here in our local communities and just to help them learning and to keep them to just help them learning and to become the best in what they are doing by bringing people that have experience both local and and abroad on the show. So we have with me Yemi. Yemi, please can you introduce yourself so everybody will know more about you and
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Adeyemi Olaoye, but most guys call me Yemi. And just to give a short introduction, I'll just say a bit about I started up my programming journey and subsequently my career. So I spent most of my early childhood life in Oshobo, in Osun
okay.
State. Then later I went on to study in Olaoye University. Uh, then sometimes around my second year in school, I found programming majorly through a course that I took in part two. It was called SESI 201, Introduction to Programming with Fortran. So during one of those strikes in Ife, I took out time to learn Fortran. That was even before we did the course. So it's like we
Okay.
stopped during the semester and we went home. So I did some learning and then I came back. And then after that, did the course. Then I somehow started learning Java. I learned some Java. Well, before that, I did some training in J2ME on building J2ME apps. Some of you might not even know what J2ME is because it's way back. And so J2ME was this Java Android. It was the platform used to build the Java Android application. So I did a training with Wale Ediron and learned how to build J2ME apps without even having any knowledge of Java at the time. So, but later on, I picked up some Java, and then I started doing J2ME. Did J2ME for about 2 years. Then later I got into web programming. Started doing all of it, but later I settled on doing backend. Then after school and even before I left school, I did some work at Conga, first as an intern. Then later I went to work at Conga full time. After school, I worked there for a couple of months. Then I joined Kotan Kush Limited, where I worked for 2 years before I came here to Germany. And right now I'm working at Delivery Hero as a software engineer, senior software engineer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Then I would love to appreciate the presence of Goke. Goke is also like top top lead here in GDG Ibadan before he moved to Germany. So let me tell you something about Yemi that actually what I noticed about him before he actually moved to Germany. I got to now I'm the co-lead, and before he was the co-lead, I just took his role now, and is someone that is actually passionate about the community and especially GDG Bado. Same with Goke, which was the lead then, and through him I was able to learn a lot, and I was so passionate about the community and especially the dev first. I got to know him very well, which is so fantastic. Then I don't know if lead as Tola has anything to say before we move on because a lot of people have a lot of questions to ask you. To be honest, I still actually feel a lot of questions, and I just hope we're able to squeeze in time to ask you those questions. But before we move to questions time, I would like to ask if Tola has anything to say about about this AMA and everything about AMA and why we are doing AMA. I don't know. Tola.
All right, since you asked me, I think I'm just going to say something. All right, I want to welcome everyone on the call to Ask Me Anything with Yemi Olaoye. Of course, Ask Me Anything is an initiative by GDG Ibadan to better the lives of programmers and developers, engineers, designers, every area or aspect of computing that revolves around technology generally. We want to encourage you to be the best at what you do. And how can you be the best? You can only be the best if you um, improve yourself, if you try to learn and put in some good work into what you are doing. And that's what makes you better at what you do, and that's what makes you grow as a person generally. So that's the essence of this event. It's not just a jamboree event where we want to just waste time online and have people come around. No, it's not a social event. It's actually an event to learn from people who have had experience, people who have over the years invested their time in learning, invested their nights in coding, invested their nights and sleepless nights, and of course, I know Yemi would be sharing some of those times. He had not to sleep in his bed in Hawo or probably in Faj. Well, maybe some people are wondering what is Faj and Hawo. We both know what we are talking about. If you graduated from OAU, then you will know what I'm talking about. But generally, it's a time for us to learn, and let's listen to Yemi as we continue the program today. So that's all I have to say. So you can continue the program, Dapo.
All right. Thank you, Tola. I will just dive in straight to questions because I have loads of questions here to ask you. Uh, okay, then I will just start with question from I will I would like to I won't call the name. I think there's no name. I just email.
Okay.
So okay, yeah, great. So I will actually I'll start from this, then I'll move to from general question to a bit like personal question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So okay, let me start with this one right here from okay. About mentors. Like, do you have mentors you look up to? Okay, then do you have mentors you look up to? If yes, how do they impact your life as a mentor in your programming career?
Okay, so I have mentors that I look up to, and I believe
Oh, okay.
everybody, I believe every software engineer or software developer should have uh, people that they look up to. It doesn't necessarily have to be people that you talk to every day. It could just be somebody that you follow and you see what they are up to. But it's also important to have personal relationship where you talk to mentors. So I have mentors that I look up to. A prominent mentor that I look up to is Tokes. Some people have also mentioned him on the show, so it might just look like a common thing. But yeah, so Tokes, his full name is Olatunko Fagba Migbe, and I've
Okay.
been working with him for a couple of years now. So um, I believe that mentorship is not just supposed to be about I teach you to code and you learn to code. I believe that I was still talking to him on something yesterday that mentorship is really about passing on skills and values. So I believe that the place of a mentor is important for every software engineer. So that's that. So Talk is more like a life coach to me. We talk about different things, not just about career and all of that. So that's one of my mentors. I also have people that I look up to, people that have gone ahead of me. A lot of them are here in Berlin. People that I have worked with in the past that I talk to. A lot of them, I talked to them when I was interviewing for the role that I'm currently working in now. I spoke to them about my plans, and I get from them advice from time to time. But also there are technical mentors, people that I read stuff about online all the time. People like Phil Sturgeon, people like Martin Fowler, that I read stuff about them. So, and they have gone ahead in the industry, and so I read from them. So those are my mentors. Yeah, I can't name all the names, but
Yeah.
those are the few names I can name. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you.
yeah.
What I actually picked from there is because was like it's very important to have a mentor.
Mhm.
When you're moving in your career, at least someone has actually passed through that place. It's actually very very easy for you to if you ask the person, it's actually very easy for the person to direct you and for you to learn from the person.
Right,
So yeah,
right, and I should also mention that I had a lot of mentors, a lot of people that held my hand while I was learning. Of course, I'm still
okay,
learning, and everybody
yeah,
should continue to learn. But
yeah,
a good point to also mention is that I had uh, mentors at each stage of my learning. So there'll be people that you meet when you're just starting out, and those people are important to what you become. There are people that you meet when you become an intermediate. There are people that you meet when you become advanced. So I had a lot of people like that, and I don't count them as some of them. I don't see them as mentors, but I see them as people. I see them as people in my network, people in my network that I can always reach out to, that I can always talk to. So that also is also part of, I believe, it's also part of the life of my life. And
yeah,
as a software engineer, you would not just have people that you call mentors, but you have people in your network that you can always talk to, and that network is always important.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Yemi.
Yeah.
And I'll move to the next question. This question is trying to ask you about how you get started, what actually intrigued you in programming. Like, I don't know, maybe you're trying to solve a particular stuff,
Yeah.
or or someone, maybe your brother or your uncle is a programmer, and you love the career or something like that. Can you just tell us how you started your programming? What intrigued you?
Okay, so I'll start by saying that my first exposure to a computer was in 2006.
Okay.
So like using a computer was in 2006, and my mom got a computer from our office. So she used to be a typist, but later
All right.
she learned about computers, and then she bought one. So that was my first exposure, and I was basically doing stuff like working with Paint and
All
playing
right.
around with Excel and Microsoft Word and all of that. So
Yeah.
at home, I learned to type. I learned to do all those basic things. But like I said the other time, my first exposure to programming was in my part two in school. What motivated me to start programming? I think for me, it was just sheer curiosity
All right.
and wanting to learn. I'm somebody that I always like to. It's like an adventure to me. Learning is like an adventure to me. So if I see something new and it's free to learn, so that time I had a, I had a book, and I had the compiler for Fortran, and
Wow.
I had the time. So for me, it was just like free adventure. So that was all it was for me, and um, the feeling of being able to, program the computer as well, like
Okay.
make this thing say what I'm asking it to say. So it was cool for me. So that was really my, like, what I can say motivated me to start programming. But from then on, I would say my motivation sort of changed. My motivation
Yeah.
changed to right now. I would say my motivation is that programming gives me the ability to create, and
Yeah.
sometimes even create things that end up creating other things, like create stuff that maybe creates job for somebody that I don't know
Yeah.
out there. So, and I think that's one of my motivation at the moment.
Oh, all right. All right. Great. Now, going deeper. Uh, I would like to. Okay, let me ask this question
Mm-hmm.
from this guy. Okay. is trying to ask like, okay, let me just try and explain it because the question is not rather straightforward.
Okay.
Okay, let me just try and explain. Like moving abroad,
Yeah.
like how did you blend with the culture? How did you blend with
Mm-hmm.
the software developers there
Yeah.
in Berlin? Are we able to blend? And when it comes to, we don't want to compare actually.
Okay.
When it comes to software developers in Berlin and in Nigeria, can you just tell us like what you notice? I don't want you to compare actually. I don't want you to tell us that this one are good, this one are bad, that kind
Uh-huh.
of stuff.
Yeah.
But can you just try and
Yeah.
just explain their work ethic,
Yeah.
their learning,
Yeah.
and the edge they have. I think maybe the edge they have over us. I'm just trying to explain this guy's question.
Okay. So,
All right.
so my okay. I think the question is in two parts.
Yeah.
Uh, like, how did I blend in?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that I think I should say that I believe that personally I believe that I'm a global citizen,
All right.
and that means that I'm not just one random dude in Nigeria
Okay.
or in Berlin just doing stuff.
Okay.
But it means that I'm my own person. I have my values. I have the things that I believe in.
Okay.
And also there's a common ground for every one of us in the company or every one of us that are working together. It's what we know. So it's really knowledge based at the end of the day. So of course, I won't say that it was straightforward to blend in. There were things that took me time to get used to, hearing accents from different countries.
Mhm.
Trying to you need to blend in it, needs having to get your ear tuned to how people
Okay.
talk,
Okay.
body language, things like that. They are always there. So I think for anybody that is in a new place, and it's
Okay.
just not just moving abroad, you can get into a new work tomorrow. There are things to learn. There are things that you need to adapt to. So and I think the important point there is that you must be open to learn. One of the things that I was telling myself before I moved was that be open-minded. Like, just be open-minded. Don't
Yeah.
say, why is this food like this, or why is this one looking at me like this, or why does this guy have his nose pierced, or stuff like that. You have to be open-minded, because the world is a big place and it's large enough to take all of us. So you have to be open-minded. You have to you yourself you have to be accommodating. Naturally, as Nigerians, most of us are warm people. Most of us are nice people. So you have to project that part of you as well. So I think in terms of blending in, it wasn't too difficult, but there were things to learn. So I think that is that about that. About comparison, or it's not really comparison. Like, what are the
Yeah.
things to learn from devs that are around here? Two things. I think number one is that most of the people that I work with around there have put in a lot of work. Um, so a lot of them have experience. The average guy has maybe 5 to 8 years of experience.
Wow.
So what that teaches us is that this your career is not really like a sprint. It's not something that you would maybe do in 1 year and be like the best. So don't sort of put pressure on yourself. Understand
Okay.
that you are in a journey, and
Okay.
that you're learning. Of course, push yourself to learn, but don't push yourself too much. Don't expect so much of yourself that you end up breaking yourself. Yeah. So there are people that I work with that have done 10 years of experience, and they know a lot of stuff. So the other thing that I noticed is that people like know their stuff. I think I should just put it that way. Like, they know their stuff. If they are talking about technology and they say they know it like at an in-depth level. So um, yeah,
Okay.
so I think that's one of the major differences. Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Then this question is take me back to Nigeria. He's actually talking about power supply
Mm-hmm.
when he started learning about
Yeah.
internet, about power. So the power supply is a major problem in Nigeria. upcoming programmers are not left out. My question is,
Mhm.
how do I maintain my focus and steadfastness and little or no electricity, especially in
Mhm.
Ibadan? All right. So
Yeah.
I think,
So
all right. Okay.
yeah. So little background story. I I had
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of challenge. I had a lot of challenges with power and internet too when I was learning. Uh,
okay.
Although I was in Ife, but I can remember, like I can vividly remember days where me and Goke would go out, and all we'll just be doing is looking for a place where there's power in the
Wow.
on campus.
Wow.
Go out with our laptops. Sometimes we would even sleep overnight at the lecture theaters, and um, and the same thing with internet access. There were times where I was using was 5 MB for 5 MB for what did we used to do then? 100 MB for a month, you know. So one thing I would say is that there will always be challenges. There will always be uh, things that will seem like a barrier for you
Yeah.
to learn programming, but you have to find a way around it. If it's your passion, if it's what you're interested in, you have to look for a way around it. And there are always opportunities around you. But the most important thing is to keep doing what you're doing with the resources that you have available at the moment. Don't let it be like a stumbling block.
Yeah.
There were there were times that when I started when I moved on a bit in my learning and started taking jobs, and there were times that there won't be power at all to even do what you want to do. Yeah, but yeah, I have that noise. Okay, yeah, it's back now. So there are times that there won't be enough power to even like do what you have to do, or maybe your laptop is bad. But all those things are just like they are not constant. So as long as you keep learning, you find out that you begin to rise above them. Of course, we hope that uh, Nigeria will become a better place where we don't have internet challenges and issues with power at all time, because it's a real blocker to people learning. But also don't let it be an excuse. You'll find ways around it. You always find ways around it.
Yeah.
For me, it was sometimes going out, sometimes um, being noticed by maybe a lecturer and getting access to a laboratory, things like that. But they all came in time. It wasn't like I was just waiting. I kept learning, and then those resources came to me at some point.
All right. So
Yeah.
I okay. Thank you for that. Then I would like to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this like overcoming imposter syndrome, but I'll just put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Is asking how was your first project like when you not hobby, like when it comes to collecting cash from clients.
Okay.
How were you able to overcome? Can you remember? I hope you can remember your first project, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
And how much you charge? I'm not asking for how much you charge right now, but but how you able to overcome the that fear, when it comes to collecting cash from clients and building
Yeah.
maybe a website or a project.
Yeah. So my first project that I was actually paid for was I did a mobile. It was more like an e-commerce project. Sorry. Okay, it was more like a e-commerce project, and it was J2ME. And I actually can't remember having imposter syndrome then, because for me it was more like a challenge. Can you build this thing? And it was more like a challenge, and I felt I rose up to it. But apart from that, there have been instances in my journey where you feel, can I really do this thing? Am I sure I can really get this thing done? And you get paid, and after that, you feel, how do I get it sorted? Yeah, I won't say I don't have to lie. I won't say I've ever been somebody that has suffered from imposter syndrome. Yeah, but there are times when you feel like you don't have an idea of what is going on, and I feel that those times are not times where we should like rescind and like get yourself into a corner, or maybe return the client's money and say you are not doing again. But that time is the time to like fuel your ignorance with knowledge, like know what exactly you feel that you don't know and learn it. Of course, there are things you should also put in place. For example, if you feel that you don't have full knowledge of what you are supposed to do, that's not the time to spend the client's money before you even start the project. You keep the money so that you are sure that, okay, if I last if I'm not able to deliver this project, I can return the person's money. And that is for when you're starting out. When you become a bit more knowledgeable, you should know what you can take on at the moment. But when you're just starting out, you are being given an opportunity. So there are things to do. And if you feel that there's something that you can't do at that time, then you should learn. Also, that's also the place of having mentors. Of course, it's not to ask your mentor to come and write the project for you, but just to discuss and see. I remember one of the projects that I worked on initially. It was like a address book for my class. I worked on it with two of my friends, and this wasn't even paid, but we hit a brick wall somewhere, and we just talked to one of the like it wasn't even our mentor at the time, so we just found some time to talk to him, and before you knew it, we found a solution to the problem we were facing. So for me personally, I see imposter syndrome sometimes as an excuse that people use to not know something, and maybe it's a function of the expectations of our educational system, where all you have to do is just to know this stuff. You just need to know it and be able to recite it in the exam, or you don't really need to apply it. So I don't think anybody don't allow yourself to be defeated by something that you have not even tried to apply. So if you feel that you are lacking in one particular area, um, take that chance and get knowledge in that area and then apply it. As soon as you begin to apply what you have learned, then you find out that you gain confidence, such that you'll be able to even teach other people about what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Then I'll move to another question. And okay, let me take this one first before I move
Mhm.
to this one. Let me just try and explain. Da, 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 da. All right. Okay, it's trying to ask about GDG Ibadan,
Okay.
how the community has actually helped you,
Yeah.
to grow your career. Yeah,
Okay.
how
So
community has actually helped you to grow your
I will
career.
just there's a very good example that I should give at this moment. When I was interviewing for like the role I'm currently at, one of the questions I was asked was, do you give talks? So, and then I was able to corroborate that by saying that, like give an answer to that by saying that I was a co-lead at GDG Ibadan and I gave some talks. I was able to say that I contribute to the community by doing this and that. And some people might say, okay, you had the opportunity to be a co-lead and that's why you were able to talk, but that's not the real thing here. I think communities like GDG Ibadan don't only just give you an opportunity to improve yourself technically, they also give you a platform. So, and that platform is what I can say has helped me in my career. It gives you a platform where you can reach out to other people, and a platform where you can network with other software developers and software engineer, and also exposure. And it didn't just start from GDG. I was also part of GDG OAU while I was in school, and I can say that like a lot of people that I know in tech now that are Nigerians are like most of them I met them in GDG OAU. So, and there are people that have been instrumental to my career and to my progress in my career. So that's the short answer.
Okay. All right. Uh, Thank you. Now let me move to okay, let me highlight something real
Mhm.
quick from what you said, because I don't know, I've read a lot of articles online about community and everything, people going to events, collecting swags,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And they tend to say like community is about events, swags, about that, and they can't really pinpoint the advantages, what they've actually learned during that event. And I think this is an opportunity for you to, I mean, for others, to just have a rethink about community. Not community is not just about the jamboree thing, about all the stuff. There are some things that you can actually learn. Just like
mhm,
how Yemi put it now, he said he had an interview. During the interview, they
mhm,
asked him, "Can you do you give a talk?" Okay, he was able to answer that confidently. All right, he was able to answer that confidently. So I want you guys to just come out whenever you have any event here in Ibadan. Just come out, then make yourself available. If you're good in writing, make yourself available in that. I think that will actually help you in the future.
yeah.
So yeah.
There's a good talk that Goke gave on the advantages of being a part of a community at one of the GDG events. I think it was GDG events that we did with for the women tech makers. Some, I think, was must be earlier this year. Yeah, where you highlighted some of the things that a community will help you with. So if you can find that talk, I'm sure the organizers will be able to share it with people at the end of the event. It's a good talk that shows you the real benefits of community. It's not just about, like Dapo said, it's not just about getting a Google shirt or getting the latest stickers. There's real benefits of community, and you learn that from that talk. Yeah.
All right. So okay, let me move on with this. Let me ask this question real quick. This question is trying to ask about rejection. It's pretty long, and it's asking about interview rejection,
Mhm.
all this kind of rejection. I don't know if you've actually, maybe, how do you overcome? Let me just, how do you overcome rejection in life? Just try and think about one. And
Yeah, I think I overcome rejection by trying to learn from it. Um, I try to look at what did I do, what could I have learned, or what could I have done better, and I try to learn from rejection if I can. Yeah, because sometimes you can't, you don't really know why you were rejected, and you just at this point you just have to move on. There are always benefits to being persistent, but if also sometimes when you get rejected, you should also consider what you have done and try and make a change. So a lot of people do the same thing over and over again and expect to get different results. So if you've applied to a role, you've applied to a couple of roles multiple times, you should review like what you're doing, um, and see where there might be lapses in what you're doing, and try and make changes. So don't just do it things the same thing every time, especially if you find a pattern that maybe, or you get stopped at maybe the HR interview, or you get stopped at the life coding test or things like that. So you should try and find a pattern and try and learn a lesson from the rejection itself. So that's how I look at it. Uh, I've experienced rejections a couple of times myself. I know it's not easy. It's not easy to apply for something, put in your effort. There are times that I've applied for stuff, and spent lots and lots of nights writing, sometimes writing essays and putting in sleepless night, disturbing your friends to review for you. And at the end of the day, you apply and then you get rejected. Yeah. So it happens. But the good thing is that it shouldn't stop there. Review and try again. If it's the same thing you are going to apply to, try again, review, talk to people, especially. Don't just be somebody that gets rejected. Oh, I'm ashamed, I've been rejected. A lot of people that you see that are successful today, most of them their success is maybe, I don't know, there's no real statistics I can put to it, but I'm just trying to say that in the background there has been a lot of failure before the success that you can now see in the foreground. So you should not just stop at that point of rejection. You move on and you do better. Yeah, but it's important to note my point where I said that do something differently, learn from the rejection if you can, and then do it differently. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Then I don't know. Okay, I want to ask if you have any question. I'm talking to uh, others that have actually joined in. Oseni, uh, Abubakar, Diallo that have actually joined. And do you have any question for Yemi? If you have any question, just put it in the chat section below in your Hangout, and I'll ask Yemi. So thank you. Then let me move on with your decision making in in going abroad. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then I think this question is actually covering that. So can you please just highlight your okay, hold on a second. Okay, yeah, yeah, your relocation process, in moving to Berlin. And yeah, I think that's what Gen is trying to say here. Okay, hold on a second. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's easy.
all
First, first I applied
right.
for the job. I did an
Uh,
interview,
all
and
right.
I got accepted, and I'm here. But to dive in a bit deeper,
Okay.
um, the things that I think would be useful so for anybody that is trying to get that question, that is asking
Okay.
that question, is that I applied um, to jobs, um, actually a lot of them. So I applied a lot. I reviewed my resume. Um, of course, I didn't. There were some that I applied with the same resume. There were some that I modified a bit. So there are things to do with your profile when you want to apply for jobs. So don't just write stuff together. Read about how you should write your resume to ensure that you are projecting the best of yourself. Of course, not lie, because lying is a very fatal mistake that people make. So don't lie on your resume. Read about what a good resume is, get people to review for you and things like that. And also, um, the other thing is prepare. Well, another place where one of the places where people fail um, when they are interviewing is that a lot of people go into the interview rooms without preparing. I've done it before too. Just going to the interview without having prepared. So and that's why a lot of people fail interviews. It's not necessarily because you are not good enough, or some of the things that you're probably being asked is something you've used before, but if they are not close to you, if they're not things that are at the back of your hand, you might just end up rambling in the interview. So prepare, like whatever it is, and I think this one is a general rule of thumb in life. Like whatever it is, try and remember that you don't walk into interviews or even into meetings without preparing. It will help you, not just while you are trying to get a job, or it will help you also while you're on the job or even on your current job right now. Always prepare. So I think that is that, and the other thing is also have a uh, have a reason. Understand where you are,
Okay.
and have a reason for moving. Have a reason for, if you want to move, have a reason for moving, and understand where you are in your career, and if it is time to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Great. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And let me quickly take Osini's question. Is asking, what is your take on internship?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, I think
Okay.
internships are very crucial.
All
I
right.
myself have done a couple of internships. Of course, the ones that the school curriculum afforded me to do. I did one in my part three, sorry, and another one in my part four. So I I believe that internships are great opportunities that everybody should leverage on. There are points in your journey where you you are only, like, how do I put this now? Like, you are not good enough to be given. It's not like you're good enough to be given something to do, but you are given the opportunity because it's saying that you are coming as an intern. You are learning. So an internship opportunity is an opportunity to learn. So um, don't just see it as an opportunity to faff for 3 years, for 3 months, or for 6 months. It's an opportunity to learn. I can say that the fastest growth, like, in my journey while I was learning programming, was during my part 3 internship. I learned a lot. It was in the space of 1 month, but I learned a lot, a lot. I learned a whole lot. I can even say that even maybe I learned more than I did in my part 4 internship, because my part 4 was partly learning and partly applying the things that I already knew. Yeah. The same person is also asking a question. Also, how does working in an organization works? Like, do you have to
Yep.
code all day? So
All day.
you
Yeah.
don't code, you won't necessarily code all day. The one important thing to note is that software engineering is not just about coding. It's not only about coding, because if you only code, you probably write bad code. So it's not just about writing code. Of course, a large percentage of your time you read code, you be in design meetings, you'll be in meetings where you review the products or the things that you have to do. You also be in other meetings, dependent on what organization you are working on. So it's not really all about coding, depending on the organization you are working on. But it should never really be all about coding. There are other things that accompany software engineering or software development. It's not just
Oh,
about coding. You spend that
okay.
time
Okay.
reviewing other people's code as well.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Yemi.
Hmm.
Then I okay. Let's move on. I just wanted to ask him some question if you have any question for Yemi.
Okay.
But let's move on. I would like to ask this question real quick from a guy. He said, okay, he just trying to look for inspiration and everybody needs it. So what advice would you give someone who is just starting his career in tech?
So my advice to someone who is just starting his career is to keep learning, is to take every day as a day of learning. There is a lot to learn, and you should make learning an habit. So learn as much as you can, and like I said before, understand that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you have to be prepared, you have to be focused as well. And also, for somebody that's just starting his career, I would also advise you to learn soft skills, learn how to relate with people, prioritize communication with people, communicate with people well. Yeah, so those would be my that would be my advice. And also, I will say that you should not just scheme over things. So don't be somebody that is unfocused. Like, when you learn the right way. Don't just like scheme over things and stuff like that. Yeah. And for people that
Okay.
are
Uh
for people that are
okay.
like, you've done some years, you've done some years, or you've had some sort of experience. I think at that point there's usually a decision to whether stay where you are, be in your comfort zone, and use the technology that you are used to the most, and just continue iterating. Yeah, that is the time to actually get out of your comfort zone and learn more things. Is either you then decide to widen your breadth or widen your depth. So widen your breadth will be you look into other things. Widen your depth will be you go deep down into what you're currently doing and learn the little details of it, and maybe be an expert in
Oh,
that line. That will also help you when you now decide to start to walk the breadth. That means when you decide to start learning some other things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. 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 Thank you, Yemi.
Mm.
And I okay, let me just quickly move to another question. I think that should be the last question here for now. Um. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah. I got it. So I
I
want
lost you
to
for some
ask,
seconds there.
like, what's your of an expert? I'm just trying to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. The question is, what's your definition of an expert developer?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually tricky to answer that question because it's really
Yeah.
subjective. But
Yeah.
there's this I would say that an expert developer is somebody that knows their craft.
Okay.
There's a common ranking for developers. So if I say rate yourself
Okay.
in Java
Yeah.
and on 1 to 10, and some people say that if you say, I'm not sure whether it's 8 or 7 now, that you should have written a book in Java. So it's pretty subjective to define who an expert developer is. But what I think anybody that is trying to rate themselves should do is to uh look for things that you can measure yourself by. Like, don't just say I'm good, but say that in Java on this subject, how much do I know? Or in C sharp on this subject, how much do I know? So um, the definition of an expert is really subjective. Uh, but of course, there are leading people in the field that we all know that they are experts and they know what they are doing. So, but if I'm going to say somebody is an expert, I will define the person as somebody that can apply that field to a given problem and provide a solution, and not just that, be able to create custom solutions in that on that topic using that particular technology or topic that we're talking about as well.
Uh. Okay. So, and I think time is like far spent. I don't know. I mean, do you have anything you have to tell us, like aspiring developers, people that are just starting, here in
Mhm.
Ibadan, and do you have anything to tell us just to inspire us or to motivate us? Yeah.
Mhm. So I would say that like people should leverage the opportunities that are around them. Uh, People should also leverage on the platforms that are around them. Like all these platforms that we have now budding up in Ibadan, they were not there 2 years ago and all of that. So leverage on those platforms, leverage on the opportunities that you also find around you, and I will also say that don't just be somebody that is just interested in yourself. Be somebody that is also sharing knowledge, because in sharing knowledge, you will meet other people, you would figure out stuff that you don't know. So share knowledge as much as you can, and make Ibadan bigger on the map. And also, um, another thing I would say is that for anybody that is aspiring or is just starting out, patience is also important. You have to be patient. There are things that you need to experience. There are things that you need to experience. You need to I'll use this word, rack up hours on what you're doing. So rack up hours, take opportunity of the take advantage of the opportunities that are around you at the moment, and do some deep work, because that's what will really matter at the end of the day. It won't just be the fact that you can code Vue. If you can like use Vue, there's a difference between somebody that can use Vue and somebody that can use it like at an expert level. So you should just keep on working, keep on leveraging on platforms and opportunities, and you will see yourself improving.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Yemi. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I'm not sure if you can actually take this last question.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Still
can take it. We
from
can take it. We can take
from
it.
you can take it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So from Hosseini said, so what would you say about frameworks? Believe everything can be hard coded.
Mm, what would you say
Like
about framework? Someone like maybe everything a framework could do can be coded. Oh, okay. So
at the
that's
time,
maybe a comparison
learning from
between
scratch and all this kind
like
of stuff.
building from scratch or
Yeah,
building using the framework itself.
yeah.
Yeah. I would always encourage people to use a framework, uh,
Okay.
because a framework is built by, like, if you check most of these frameworks on GitHub, you will see that there are thousands of developers that are contributing to these frameworks, and those frameworks are battle tested. So let's
Okay.
take an example. If you decide to build like a security module in your application, and you build the security module, and then you ship your application to production and you go to sleep, and a particular bug comes up, maybe in the Linux kernel, that affects your application, and you don't know. So you sleep off, and you probably don't even know how to, maybe you don't even know how to fix it. But if you're using a framework, it's a lot of developers and it's a lot of knowledge that is among them. Will like everybody will be able to come together and provide a solution to that. And even the common bugs that have been discovered over the years would have been covered. All those edge cases would have been covered in that framework. So with that, that's one of the reasons why I would advise people to use a framework. And when you use a framework, also you get introduced to new patterns that good expert developers have been able to use in that framework, and you can then learn. You can learn from that. But outside of that, I also advise people to not just use framework. Know exactly what the framework is doing. So know in the background, how does this thing handle authentication? So you can just take a day or something to learn how it does it in the background, because when you do that, that's the only time you can understand the nitty-gritty of how it's done. Don't just be like a consumer guy, because one day will come when you will need to do something custom. You will need to do something that is maybe out of the box, and you will need that kind of knowledge to be able to do that. So use frameworks when you can, but also know what is going on under the hood.
Okay, so use framework when you can, and also know what's going on under the hood. So that's something amazing. That's something I think you should actually pick today if you're trying to use framework or you're trying to do it from scratch. If you're using a framework, know what's going on under the hood. Thank you, Yemi. Really appreciate that. Then I Tolar. Let me unmute him.
Hello.
I so Tola is the GDG Ibadan lead, and Tola, do you have a closing remark for this particular event? And just your closing remark, please.
Of course, yeah. I would
Right.
like to thank Yemi, especially for taking time out to be on this call today. I want to really appreciate your time. Want to really appreciate sharing those deep knowledge with us. They are indeed deep. I've learned a lot from some of what you said. And I believe everyone who might be watching this right now or might be watching later would also have one or two things to pick up and work on so that they
Okay.
can better at what they do. All right. So, one, thank you sincerely for coming up today. And I want to thank you for sharing out of your wealth of knowledge
Okay.
to everyone that have access to this video. It's really appreciated. And then we wish you well in your endeavor over there. And then we wish you more success in life. I want to also sincerely thank everybody who has joined the call from everywhere. I want to thank Bouquet too for being on this call. Thanks for the support always. You are highly appreciated. Thank you, Oseni, John, Adeyemi and Diallo. We thank you very much for being on this call. Thank you for the intruder, Ejuma. You are also very welcome. Although you came very late, but we still appreciate you for coming. And I believe everyone who has joined this call from from the onset has picked one or two things. Keep learning, get better, do the needful. Do not, even when you get rejected, do not relent. Do not relent. Just keep doing what you're doing, focusing your energy in the right direction. That's what works. And let's all learn together and get better together, and grow as a community. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dapo, for moderating.
All right, guys.
So bye, everyone.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Can we start our party?
Yeah, I just submitted myself.